DDG episode 92. Wait, we skipped a number. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Like last week just happened.
Like numerically, this doesn't add up. We had 90, and now we have 92. Did you make the wrong number on the document again?
I might have. I might have been doing something behind your back, you know. Secret episodes we posted.
Okay. Yeah, with that weird guy, right? That likes to buy like discs and buy stuff and never play it.
Yeah. He has like a spreadsheet of things that he has unopened. That guy.
All right. My name is Dave Hunt. I'm joined by Michael Swick, who I'm talking to while he's taking a drink, like I always do. I got a good way to do that. Thank you to Josh Langford for filling in for me last week. Like I said on Twitter, it sucks to miss Igo, but it was also kind of nice to break the routine a little bit. So that I appreciate everybody's saying that taking breaks is fine and enjoying my vacation and well wishes for pictures and stuff that I put up. I don't enjoy missing the show, but I also feel like it's inevitable, and we have a plethora of people that we can bring onto the show, to multiple people that we can bring onto the show to help fill in. So like that Michael doesn't feel bad if he wants to go somewhere and doesn't have to like worry about the show.
Yeah, might be my vacation. I think I did the math correctly. Is episode 100, which is this great.
All right, we're gonna have to talk about that, jerk.
Yeah. Probably gonna have to do an early recording. Anyway. But I did the math after giving you shit for like, he couldn't make it 100 episodes. I did the math, and episode 100 should line up with my vacation.
That is called karma, sir. Just so you're aware. So.
If I call in, it counts, right? So.
Okay. All right, obviously we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly show that has done, this will be 92 consecutive episodes plus bonus content. We go live on podcast services across the world on Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. You can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, and then you can also just hit digitaldaysgaming.com for all the shows, links to the show notes, like all the socials. Everything is in the show notes for the podcast service you use, and it's on digitaldaysgaming.com. A little bit of a lighter news week. We're going to talk some more numbers, which is something Michael and I always enjoy, and some other things. And I've got a pretty cool piece of tech to talk about that just came out this week. So I'm going to throw it over to Michael.
Yeah, we have pretty much a PlayStation-focused show this today with the news. The PS5 has reached its big milestone of 10 million units sold as of July 18th. It is being touted as PlayStation's fastest-selling console ever, which is kind of astounding considering how many people we know that want the console that can't get it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That it's hitting that. Which,
well, based on like the whole world of like all the comments on everything I see on Twitter, this just means like 9.5 million are bought by scalpers.
It feels like it, and it's one of those things where you just wonder, what if the pandemic didn't happen? Mm-hmm. Where would this have been?
I think we'd be in the same spot. Like, I feel like, I honestly feel like we would be in the same spot. Like, okay, like...
I would think a month or two different. Like, it might have been like 1 to 3 months sooner to hit 10 million.
Yeah, maybe we get closer to 10 million before Ratchet & Clank came out. But it just would have been one of those things where you and I have worked in retail long enough to know that, all right, on Tuesday we would have got 3 in, and on Friday we would have got 4 in. And, it's like, oh, we opened a box, there's 1. Like, it's this way. I almost feel like from, again, my retail management background experience, this is more controllable for the stores, what's going on right now, which is why I don't think they're in a huge hurry to put them on the shelves, because they're going to go live at 10 a.m. and if your local store or one of your local stores has it, you reserve it, and then they open the labels, print out, and they put the pickup on their labels. They never go to the sales floor, and they never have to deal with people waiting in line. You don't have the extremes of like the shoe business that I did years ago, and I'm sure you've seen some of this stuff of like people like deboing other people in line or trying to buy their ticket to get in line, or God forbid like harming somebody to get their spot in line.
It's been
those are all gone. Yeah,
and to your point, when I worked at Target, Best Buy, it would be a trickle. It would be like, we got 3 new consoles in. No one knows. Here comes the people that come every night to go see if we have them, and they try and buy all 3. Now what you're getting is Best Buys and Targets. They're not getting 3 at a time, or 3 every couple days. They're just getting 50 every couple weeks and then getting rid of all of them within a matter of minutes. So it's like the same flow of consoles is there. It's just it's spaced out a little bit more, which I'm sure people would like. Retailers specifically would like foot traffic to be more consistent, but we're in different times to where more people are. If you talk to anyone who's like a manager and retailer, a good chunk of their business is online pickup orders, and it was already heading that way with the pandemic to begin with. And then
just accelerated it. It just super accelerated it. The same day delivery stuff, like it just got all super accelerated. And this is, like whether you like them or don't like them, this is evidence of these companies, like you said, catching up to Amazon and almost being forced to catch up to Amazon because they were just getting their ass kicked. And then now to being like, okay, like if I want, if I just did it. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. We bought Zelda Skyward Sword. Like GameStop had it for like $49 for some reason. It was already like $10 less. And then the other cool thing that happens, we don't necessarily have to do it. I could have just dropped the $50 if I wanted to, but I don't know if you've noticed this or not. But like a lot of these retailers are accepting PayPal, obviously, and then you can do like PayPal in 4. You can pay in 4, where it's you pay like $15 like every 2 weeks. And it's just like it's not like I said I can drop $50 if I want to, but why drop $50 at once when I can drop $15, like 3 times or
I
or
think
$17.
I did that. I did that with Amazon because Amazon offers that too, and I think that's how I did my PS5, where it's like I had the money day one for it, but I was just like, what if there's no interest or anything like that, I'll do the full payments.
There's no penalty to it, and the only
unless
thing
you
I can
don't pay,
right? And the only thing I can think of is that retailers are getting sales that they weren't getting before because like maybe somebody wanted to buy $100 item and they didn't have $100, but they have $25 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So like it's like the evolution and the changing of the industry of how we purchase things is crazy. It's a term my company uses, but like this omni always thing is a big deal now. And this is just like part of that. And now with and I also think it goes hand in hand with the massive increase we've seen in digital business, digital gaming business, to where, to your point, like your retailers would love to have the foot traffic in here, but if you're buying a digital console, like all right, they got the sale, like you're not coming back in there to buy a game. So now like don't come in my store, don't mess my stuff up, don't make my staff talk to you. I mean, I know that sounds cold, but if you're going to use me as a window shopping thing, like okay, stay in your car, we'll put it in your car and you can go home.
Yeah. Do you want a controller? No, fuck off. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like
other sales figures, which I love individual sales figures for games. Miles Morales has sold 6.5 million copies. Miles is also on PS4, but I would imagine a good chunk of these are PS5.
I'd say 70-30 PS5.
Yeah, which is still a crazy attachment rate for 100%. How many units are out there. That's like an attachment rate we only see with Nintendo.
Or Gran Turismo back in the day.
Yeah, Gran Turismo back in the day. But modern times, Nintendo is the only one that can pull off this sort of thing, to where there might be like 4 to 5 million PS5 owners that have Miles. That is 40% of how many consoles are out there, which is insane. Returnal has sold 560,000
How do you
since
feel
its
about
April
that?
launch. Obviously, Sony was happy with those numbers. I'm guessing, based on playing Returnal as much as I have, Returnal's it's a way smaller game than people think it is. They reuse stuff. Sections are pretty barren, to where like technically it is like a beautiful game, but they're not doing anything crazy or strenuous that I would think this was like a huge AAA big budget experience, or experience-wise they deliver that. But I'm guessing 560,000 is probably Housemarque's most successful game, like individually, especially this is their first $70 game. So to sell that many, so number-wise, and Sony must have been happy with that enough to purchase them. Because they showed that, like, with a certain budget, they can deliver this quality of game.
Yeah.
So I think it's impressive for how smart.
I guess I understand that perspective. And I guess we'll probably never really know the budget or how much it costs to make Returnal
until financials next year,
right?
Maybe. No. It wouldn't be on their books. It would be on Housemarque's.
Right.
So
yeah. So we probably won't find out. Or obviously like how much Sony paid them to make it or whatever that was.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me that like we've been talking about, like it was April and it was essentially the first new PlayStation 5 only IP.
Yeah.
Other than the Demon Souls remake. That just seems really low to me. Like, I mean, that there was towards launch, like within at least a couple of days of launch. I know I criticized it prior, but the week before launch, there was a pretty big marketing push for it, and like that just seems really low to me. I understand Spider-Man is Spider-Man, but that's even like if we do think it's 70-30, so on PS5, Spider-Man, let's say 3.5, 4 million. I mean, and like to not break 1 million units, I guess that I'm talking myself in and out of it at the same time, because if there's only 10 million consoles out there and you sell 1 million units, that's a 10% attach rate, which is absurd. So.
Yeah. Well, at the time, we don't know how many. We know they've been selling more units, but like the 10 million is as of July 18th, and Returnal launched in April. So like their launch numbers. They're probably working with like 7 to 9 million.
Yeah, so I guess I mean at that point in time, it's still like a what? I guess what does that roughly make it? Probably a 4% attach rate, which is really
like
good.
That, yeah.
But
for a new
maybe,
IP,
maybe Returnal will be a slower burn over time as more people get the consoles. But I guess it'll be interesting to see when we see a Ratchet number. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, we do have a Ratchet number. And the next line.
Oops.
But specifically with Returnal, I also think it's a very niche, genre, and new IP. Yep. Definitely, you have to account for that of just like roguelite, difficult games like this.
I know, but a 50% decrease Ratchet and Clank is 1.1 million units in a month.
Yeah.
Which is
established IP from an established studio,
which is the 10% attach rate we just talked about, which is absurd. I don't know. Like I don't want to sit here and say like Returnal is or was or a disappointment, but those figures, that number is a little discouraging to me personally.
Yeah,
it's small. It's small.
And for me, I think it's impressive because it lacked the marketing campaign. It is a new IP. And because Sony acquired them, I'm imagining Sony looked at how much money was put into it, and then they saw how much money sold, and they're just like, okay, if we put our full marketing team behind their next game, this is where we can go with them. And if we give them more money, or we just keep them at that same budget, and they just produce games like this.
I totally see it. Like Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man are obviously designed to appeal to a much, much broader audience, and Returnal wasn't. I just think maybe I would feel better about it if there was other PS5 only stuff out.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. It just seemed kind of low to me. That's all. But I'd have to go back and look at maybe as an example like what Killzone did within the first couple months of it being out, and I'd have to really start digging back into some figures and seeing what it was like back then. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see, especially like. Because we give like the PS5 an extended launch window compared to previous ones because of the whole pandemic, I would want to know what like Shadowfall did or Knack, something like that. Because I would almost put Returnal in that Knack box in terms of like.
I don't think you're wrong. It just appeals to a different type of audience. So.
Yeah, but Ratchet and Clank did sell 1.1 million units, which is
crazy.
Well, yeah, which is good. I would imagine this is the best-selling Ratchet game, right? PS2 Ratchet was really powerful, but like.
Yeah, but I don't think that I don't know. I feel like a lot of it's hard to tell. Like I agree with you, by the way, that I think this is probably within like
at
the
least
best selling, the best selling Ratchet within the first 30 days of launch. 100%, I agree with that. But I also think that there is a lot of perception of like PS2 days, like That was the best way. No, it was PS3 actually, but the PS3 was the best way to get a Blu-ray player at the time.
Yeah, I had that going for it.
I'm sure that inflated. Like, there are people that probably bought a PS3 and, played whatever game came with it, or got their, their Madden or their FIFA, because they like those games, and used it 90% of the time as a DVD, as a Blu-ray player, and the other 10% time as a gaming device.
Yeah.
So, like, I think in terms of, like, attach rate, PS3's attach rate numbers can always be slightly skewed, especially after they got away from the $600 SKU. But yeah, like, I do feel like within the first quarter, like, it's probably the most successful Ratchet. So,
and I just see it and keep going, especially if Ratchet. I will probably be the Black Friday bundle, and will be $20.
Yeah. Right, 100%. This is also, I think that these figures are more talked about and more easily accessible now than they were 20 years ago, too. So, like, it's, in terms of being reported on more genuinely and more people following it, and it being more of a public, like, you're hearing about these figures because these are, like, publicly traded companies.
Yeah. And so I just thought of something. Like, usually around the holiday season, we'll get, like, PS3, PS4 would have, like, the greatest hits label, which would be $20, or game sales in general, they would go down to $20. Because now PS5 games are $70, what do you think the new number is? Is it just going to be 40? 35. Just, like, cut it in half.
I just think it sounds better than $40. I think $35, just for whatever reason, sounds better than $40.
Yeah.
I think $40 has kind of always been that, reserved, that $40 price point worked in the 20, 40, 60 model, where, like, $60 games could be 40 and $40 games could be 20, when we had that. I don't even know how much it costs when I use this example, but the Resogun, Death's Door, Guacamelee, kind of like that plane of games that were like $40 back then. And then putting them down to $19.99 wasn't a big deal. Taking a $60 game down to $30 wasn't a big deal. But yeah, I think just, like, people just like that 50% off. They don't want to see, like, 44.5% off. Like,
but do you think my retail brain, based on how customers react, $34.99 doesn't sound as nice as $39.99 or $29.99.
Yeah. I get it. I also
people
think,
are weird.
I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but the 99s just seem to be going away in general. I've got tons of stuff at my stores that are like $5.29 now. Like,
yeah, I know. Like, Walmart's do that too, where it's like $49 and $51.
$49.50. Yeah, like, $50 and 51 cents. I'm like, huh? And then it's just like, yeah, okay. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, this other one's interesting, MLB. So
yeah. Before we get into this, I think it's interesting that Demon's Souls wasn't mentioned at all.
Because it didn't sell.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, what was it? Just not what they were expecting? Are they afraid to put the number out? Because, like, I'm assuming Demon's Soul probably sold as much as Returnal, if not more.
I know why. Because they are buying Blue Point, and they're not advertising that stuff yet because they don't want somebody to take them.
No, exactly. They don't want, like, Blue Point to get, like, puffed up a little bit of, like, oh yeah, it killed.
All right, a little bit of a baseball reference. Like, Sony doesn't want to be San Diego and lose Max Scherzer to the Dodgers.
Yeah, they don't want to show. They don't want to puff them up and be like, look how great they did, because then they're gonna have to cut a check for them later. It just seemed interesting that they, like, Demon's Souls was not included. But then again, Sackboy's Big Adventure wasn't. But I don't think anyone was really, like, looking for those numbers. But all right. MLB The Show has sold over 2 million copies across all platforms, but interesting enough, they did say that there are more than 4 million players of MLB The Show, which would logically...
you can't say that, man. They're gonna get people are gonna get mad at us. Like,
I know.
You can't say that their player engagement and sales were doubled because of Game Pass. You can't say that. Which
is why they had to do we sold 2 million copies and there's 4 million players. Ideally, there are going to be scenarios where you have two people in a home playing the thing, so you would count both players because they both have accounts. But we'd have to imagine there's 2 extra million people.
1.97.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was going to say. It's probably like a 1.5 to 1.99 of people that are on Game Pass. But I thought it was very funny how Sony, like, handled this announcement of, like, hey, we sold 2 million copies across all platforms and there's over 4 million players, which means somewhere in there is where you can get, like, the Game Pass figures for MLB The Show.
This is how much the industry has changed, though, in the last couple of years. Because I remember hearing, I don't remember who it was, so I'm probably going to misquote it, but years ago, PS3 days, when the used game market was like the thing to like point at that was bad for developers, and a developer saying, "Yeah, I sold 1.4 million copies of my game, but I see 3.3 million users earning trophies."
Yeah.
You know, so like, and people are like, well, what are you saying? And then other people like you said, like, well, look, maybe there's two people in the house, like maybe two kids, or a father and a son, or father and a daughter, or you know, husband and wife, all that stuff. And those are all valid things, but like, it's the same thing with. Hey, people are gonna get so mad at me. It's the same thing with the Ascent. People are mad, and I want to play it. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet, so I can't really talk about it like that. But so the Ascent is on Game Pass. I'm not even 100% sure if it's on Game Pass on PC. I just know it's on Game Pass. But it was number 3 on Steam.
Yeah.
Like, this is not hurting anybody. Sony benefited from 1.97 million people playing MLB The Show on Xbox. And of those 1.97 million, maybe, I don't even know, 250,000 bought some stubs.
And that's the number I really want to see from Sony. Yeah. This was just like raw numbers. This wasn't about financials. But I want to know what Sony's microtransaction takeaway from this is going to be.
Because that's their main first-party microtransaction heavy game, right?
Yeah, that's like the only game they really truly dabble in microtransactions.
Right. They mess with it. They mess with it in Uncharted, but it's front and center in MLB. It's the thing.
It's a forever feature in MLB. You know, like the next Uncharted might not have anything.
But it's crazy to think about. What this is pretty much saying is that 2 million people bought and played it on PS4, PS5, and 2 million people played it on Xbox. It's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
Yeah. And we're not even talking about, like, you know, Nintendo flirted with the idea of, like, MLB might be coming to a Switch eventually because of this deal. And
or PC
is probably
I fully expect PC next year.
Like, I think that's what Nixies is going to be working on. Nixies is that's their job, is, like, bring this to PC because they're going to see this and they're going to be encouraged. Like, oh, like, so 1 to 2 million Xbox players are on this. Let's get this on PC.
Yeah, and then Josh brings it up in chat. Not that Josh, but another Josh Kreese that I know. And then he's right. There's probably a small chunk that just purchased it outright, that didn't want Game Pass and just bought MLB.
That are in that 2 million. That initial 2 million. Yep. No, for sure. So, that there's going to be people that did that.
If I'm Sony Santa Monica, I'm sorry, Sony San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah, Sony San Diego. Your player base just increased 100%.
Yeah.
Compared to what it could have been if you didn't put it on Xbox. So, like, to your point, that's a huge kudos for them for that, more players. And Sony indirectly is getting that Game Pass money through MLB or through the contract or however that crap works. And then it also just somewhat gives MLB more leverage of saying, okay, like, this is why you need to put it on Steam or on you know, like the Switch if it's possible. And I'm also going to be super fascinated if I'm the NBA or if I'm the NFL. I'm going if I'm the NFL, I'm going to EA. Go, what the hell? Like, I mean, it's already on multiple platforms, but you know, like, how do we increase our user base by 100%?
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if that's why EA is even in bed with Game Pass already, seeing what microtransactions are getting through the old games.
Can you imagine what would happen if the next Madden's on Game Pass? Like day and date?
Like day one, yeah. As opposed to, what is it now, like a year? You didn't get the old one?
6
months a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think that's why the old Maddens are even up on Game Pass, is because it's like, let's just get whatever money we can from these old games because there's an audience there that are going to pick it up.
It's crazy. The console figures are fascinating. You know, to see PS5 at 10 million units, not even a year out, fascinating. Amazing, great job. But to look at, like, again, dabbling into the numbers, the last number I think I remember seeing is roughly about 25 million Game Pass subscribers. Does that sound right?
24 and a half, something like that, yeah.
You want to talk about attach rate? Let's round it down. 1.5 million of your 25 million are playing one game on Game Pass? Like, that's nuts.
That is also kind of a niche title because it's, you know, baseball.
It's baseball. It's of the 4 major sports right now. It's
number
third?
3. Yeah, it's number 3.
Like, you know, like behind, like hockey's below it. Sorry,
on a
guys.
platform that never really had it before.
Yeah.
Too. I'm sure there's people that
I don't want to turn this into an Xbox thing. Like, Sony has done a fantastic job selling their box.
Yeah.
Microsoft just doesn't give a damn if what box you play it on. So.
Yeah. But this is where Sony is. I think Sony. That's why they're like looking at the PC market of like, hey, there's market for our games on other platforms, and
Horizon's done really well. Days Gone has done really well. Now MLB has done really well.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably get the PC port of MLB next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
agreed, 100%.
And that's going to be great to see that running on like a high end PC. And I think it'll be day one now that they got Nixies.
But I also think this just could be more money for Sony San Diego to make the next MLB better. Like their budget might have been capped at a certain point in time. Like,
it also could lead to expansion because remember, San Diego used to make more than MLB.
Yep.
You know, so it could lead to them being able to just kind of mess around and make smaller games, or just expand enough to make the show, you know, like an NBA the show, because obviously EA isn't going to make competition for 2K, but like they used to have a basketball game at Sony. I forget what it was called, but they used to have one.
Like
so who knows what
they
this
used to
could
be
lead
989, didn't they?
989 basically turned into that studio, or like enough people left that to do San Diego, I believe. But let's talk about the next bit of PlayStation news. Is the PS5 beta is going out, and it includes the SSD expansion. That's the big thing. The big thing for me is they fixed the trophy.
See, I thought the trophy fix went out already, but the SSD isn't out yet.
It's in beta. People are putting stuff in their
All right.
thing, but I don't know what. I think they do a different ring system.
Yeah,
like
to be fair, this has been hitting while I've been sleeping.
Yeah,
because I sleep during the day though. It sucks.
So this is the important thing from this beta is the M.2 NVMe expansion. This will allow you to use that second internal slot for storage. It will act as secondary storage. It's actually really nice on the menu that it shows. It basically will show the internal, the expansion slot, and then your external. Most games will work from the expansion slot. I think Sony just says most games specifically to cover themselves legally during the beta period. But it has to meet a certain amount of specs, which is understandable because we are working with very fast SSDs. These sizes can be anywhere from 250 gigs to 4 terabyte. That can be used for that expansion slot. The trick, though, is it's hard to tell if I believe it's required or highly recommended to have one with a heatsink, either one-sided or double-sided, which is a thing that I've been talking about this entire time of the M.2's NVMe drives. They are hot. They run super hot, and that is going to cause a ton of issues, and that's why Sony is like, get one with a heatsink, either single or double-sided, and hopefully it'll fit. Though some people have tried some double-sided SSDs already, and they fit enough, but it's a tight fit if you don't find the right model. So that's like the complication with it is like the addition of a heatsink. But even if you buy one without a heatsinks cost anywhere from $10 to $25 depending on the quality you're getting. Prices for these kind of start 1 terabyte. You can find from anywhere from like $200 to $250. Depending on if they have single or double-sided heatsinks and, of course, quality of brand. So the only challenge is compatibility, is finding ones that meet the requirements for you to play your PS5 games off of. Thoughts about this, Dave? Because like pricing-wise, people were freaking out about, but pricing-wise is in line with the Series X Xbox option.
Yeah, I mean... It just, the thing that sucks is that there is a possibility that companies, retailers, are going to market certain hard drives that they have ownership of as again, it's out of Sony's control. But you walk into a store and you see a sign that says compatible with PS5. Like, that might not be the most compatible thing. So it's one of those things, like we even mentioned months ago, like do your homework. Let these content creators like run this stuff through the paces and find out what's the best drive. I'm sure we'll see in the next week or two. Digital Foundry probably is going to do something about performance, and just let them run it through its paces. Let them leave their PlayStation on overnight. Let them do a long gaming session playing a game. Let them
check the heat.
Yeah, let them mess with quick resume and end or whatever it's called on PlayStation, of switching games back and forth and moving some stuff around. Like just give it some time. You survive this long. If you have one without it, you can wait another month, another 6 weeks. I would almost be at the point where I'm not sticking anything in this until this firmware's out of beta.
Yeah.
So, but that's just me, just because messing around with opting in and out of party chat is different than putting something in my PlayStation that may or may not work.
And might not be compatible with every game, because if they have varying speeds, you're not playing every game on this thing.
So that's a little scary to me. Not that I necessarily always try to compare the two of them, but I would love for Sony to, come out with a sticker, that's approved by PlayStation.
I think they will. I think we'll see that.
So, whether they double down on a brand or whatever brand it is. I mean, I'm sure it'll be Western Digital more than likely. They seem to have a good relationship with them before for their external hard drives on PS4, right?
Yeah, I believe I think it was them.
Yeah. So, but it's great that it's coming. And they're continuing to evolve their systems and help that. I've thought about it with in my mind a couple times with the Xbox. I'm like, I could just go buy this extra hard drive because my Series S is small. The hard drives are small. But then I look at the cost of how much I pay for the Series S and how much it would cost for the card. And I'm like, well, then if I'm going to do that, let's just sell my Series S and get an X. So I don't know.
So
I love the fact that they're delivering on what they promised, but I can just, with this, my situation, again, non-data capped, unlimited internet, if I want to, if I want to play a game, I'll try to download it before I go to sleep, and then it's usually ready to go when I want it to go.
Yeah, I was looking at 1 terabyte's not enough. Maybe I get a 2 terabyte, but that's the price of a digital. So I'm just what? I'm fine just managing my downloads. So because I have the full terabyte in a Series X, I don't really ever worry about storage space. I finally filled it up. Mm-hmm. But my download speed's good enough that I could delete stuff as I need it, and I'm not playing everything on a Series X I have downloaded. PS5, you're a little bit more challenged because it's 625 gigs that are actually available. So it's more of a thing where I definitely will do the expansion, but I probably will only do 500 gigs or 1 terabyte because I actually don't trust it enough, because I am worried about heat with this. I don't want my PlayStation to sound like a jet engine. I don't want it to ever get too overheated to where I am going to be so curious about just the heat to where I could see myself still using it as cold storage, just a faster cold storage than the external SSD that I use. Maybe I'll play some smaller games because I'm curious to know a more demanding game like a Returnal or Ratchet and Clank that is actually using that SSD in its as an actual feature. Will it run hotter because it's using it more, or would a smaller indie game not be as big a deal if I did that? So I'm curious about all that stuff, but I can see myself maybe doing a 500 gig, which I already priced out as $120 to $150 for 500 gig, and I think that'd be more than enough for me to use as cold storage. That I swap the games in and out, back and forth, because the transfer speeds would probably be ridiculously good moving in between the internal and the expansion slot. So I'm excited about this. I saw people freaking out about the price, but it's in line with the Xbox, and Xbox is actually kind of a way worse situation because there's only one available. You won't see the price change on that too often.
Right.
While on the PS5, you're going to have competition. You're going to have people undercutting each other, and storage constantly is moving, and this stuff is going to be significantly cheaper next year and the year after. Why the Xbox One, they kind of can call their own shot with how cheap they'll get. I'm sure they'll drop the price too eventually, but they're less inclined to do that because there is no other competition for them, and this will have competition going for it. So I'm excited to mess around with it, but when I say mess around with it, I mean watching other people throw random shit in their PS5 and then me going with the most optimal thing.
Ever going to be possible on either system to have an SSD drive that's powered through USB?
What do you mean?
Like an external solid state drive that plugs in and works. Like you just get like
play off of and not use as cold, because I play my PS4 games off an SSD.
Right, but I'm saying, could I play Ratchet and Clank off an external drive that's plugged in via USB in the next 3 years?
And unless they release a new model that has faster USB ports, because right now the USB ports are 3.1, and I don't think that moves fast enough for them to do it. Maybe if they do a Pro model, I think they probably could get away with that, depending on how fast the USB technology goes. But that would be nice. That would be nice. Or they just they're more upfront with hey, some of these PS5 games are just fucking PS4 games.
When is Nyko gonna make the thing that just plugs into the PS5 outlet and then it makes it look like your PlayStation 5 has a tumor?
I think they already have those fans, but that ugly
that you could. The brick that they made that you could put a standard computer hard
laptop drive. Yeah, that thing was so fucking ugly. The fact that people were wanting to buy those is just insane to me.
This, look, it's swappable.
Oh god, yeah. I hated those things. Those things were ugly, and people tried to justify them.
My digital PS5 doesn't have a disk drive, but it's got a Tuma on the top of it that holds a hard drive.
Yeah, oh god, that stuff was horrible. Though I am looking to upgrade hard drives and throw some SSDs in my PS3 and my PS5. But I would never buy one of those ugly things. I think it's so crazy. When I look how I have my PS5, I have an internal SSD that's in a shell attached to my PS5, and that's what I use for PS4 games. And I'm looking at what I used to do on my PS4 with this ugly, gigantic 8 terabyte external drive, and I'm just how did I live like this? Why did I do this? And it was just SSDs were expensive back then, and now they're cheap. To where it's just why did I do this? But that's all we have for the news. Slow week, but I think it's just because the Activision Blizzard stuff is continuing to roll and get spicier and spicier.
Companies are we're not doing a press release today.
Yeah, they're staying away from it. Every day the Activision Blizzard stuff gets worse and worse. So I think that's probably going to be how the news is going to be for the next couple weeks. It's going to be the Activision Blizzard thing, just kind of.
I think it's going to be just kind of a dud until Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah, or Gamescom in 3 weeks. I think they're doing
that's okay. I couldn't remember
opening
which one
day.
First, so.
Yeah.
All right, what's delayed? So the first one we'll talk. I'm going to do this in reverse order because I'm a little irritated by the second one here. So rumor Horizon Zero or Horizon Forbidden West delayed to early 2022, according to Bloomberg, Jason Schreier and Jeff Grubb. To me, this is not a shock. I've been saying this.
No, yeah, we've been waiting for this. Yeah, definitely.
And then I think part of the factor into that was Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, is now delayed from August 24th to September 21st. This irritates me because a 30-day or less announcement of a delay is agitating to me.
What, for Kenna?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad.
It just bothers me. I'm sorry, you knew prior to July 24th or 28th or whatever that this game wasn't coming at the end of August.
Yeah, I could see that.
You knew that. People were trying to compare it to the Deathloop delay. The Deathloop delay initially was 7 weeks from launch when they came out and said, hey, it's not going to be ready. It's just less than 30 days from launch. I got a problem with it. Now, Kenna's not, some people take time off of work. Some people have to request time off of work, stupidly in advance. It's dumb.
I had to go through that recently.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying Kenna Bridge of Spirits is a request off work kind of game, but I don't really know if it is or isn't. There's people that love this, that are loving this game, and I just have a problem with having a delay announced less than 30 days from when your game was launching. It just bugs me.
This makes me think something happened in QA. I would imagine this game is at this point in the QA form.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
At this point in time, say that.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but then if they put out there...
I know. Yeah, you're right. Because they got to polish it. I was having the conversation on Twitter, and they're like, well, probably there's something wrong with the PS4 version. Okay. Like, I always talk like this. Delays suck, but I don't want a broken game. Like, in the long term, I'm fine with a game being delayed. But these getting closer and closer to these time frames, we were talking about it with Ratchet, where I was on the camp where I thought I was going to get delayed, and you were saying it wasn't. You were right. I was wrong. But we didn't really have that firm date until, what, like 7 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and so now, like, we're not getting dates of games until 2 months, and now within a month you're delaying the game. Yeah, it's only a month, again, but it just feels weird. I'm just not a fan of it. That's all.
Yeah. And then the Horizon one hasn't been confirmed by Sony yet, but we have two different tipsters that are basically saying this is coming, and it makes sense because Sony's been very sketchy with not confirming the holidays are definitely happening. It's kind of like the Halo Infinite thing, where they keep asking Phil Spencer. He's like, we have dates in mind, but we don't know. It's a moving target.
I just don't know where Horizon would fit.
I don't either. Either way, it would sell. No matter where they put it, it would sell.
Yeah, it would. But I don't think that they want to release it and affect Kenna sales.
I don't think Sony's really worried about Kenna. I think
no, but I don't think I'm not worried about Kenna affecting Horizon sales. I think Horizon would take sales away from Kenna.
No, for sure. But I don't think that's Sony's care because this isn't a first party game.
Or they would take it away from Deathloop, or it would take it away from some other partnership, marketing partnership they have with the game.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of I have a feeling Horizon was going to be a December release, and they were just looking at the history of December releases, and it's just like, if we just wait till January when people get their gift card presents, we'll do significantly more better, and then we'll get out of the way of current games. But again, Horizon 1 hasn't been confirmed. We are currently in the fun loop of people saying, next Thursday is the next state of play, and then it doesn't happen. So we're going to be living in that loop. But the next state of play, whether it's in 2 weeks or at the end of the month, I'm guessing that is when we'll get our confirmation, because I don't think they can screw around and not give a date for Horizon by the end of August, though Sony would potentially do that. But I think they need to let people know if they don't do that by the time this episode posts. Especially with the news coming out of like Bloomberg and Jeff Grubb with VentureBeat.
Right.
But that is what's been delayed, Dave.
Okay. All right. Well, so what we're playing and watching. Obviously, I was on vacation the early part of the week, and then came back and then continued to work some of my overnights at work. So my playing is significantly less. I messed around with some crap in Destiny, finishing off like the summer event. Curious to see like what they're gonna do with their seasonal content. There's been a lot of discussion within my Destiny Discord group about, we know that Witch Queen's not coming in October, which is the anniversary of when Beyond Light came. They've already said it's going to be early 2022, and how they're going to balance seasonal content, what they're going to do with some of the seasons. I don't think the game can afford like a 5 or 6 month season. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. And then watching, been watching like a bunch of crap. Like I watched like just some more Smallville. We watched like Ted Lasso episode 2 for season 2. I heard on last week's show you still haven't watched it yet. I'm assuming you still haven't watched it yet either.
I still have not watched it.
We did try to dig through Apple Plus just to see if there's other shows that we want to watch. Obviously Mythic Quest is on there. Like the Mythic Quest and Ted Lasso have been ranked like up high as like top 2 or top 3 things on there that we've already been watching. We watched Dickinson, which is like a show about Emily Dickinson. We watched one episode of it. I'm not sure if I'm completely sold on it. It's like takes place in the time that I don't know the exact time frame, but it also has more of a modern teenage twist to it. Like they're using words like "you're so lame" and like the dialogue, at least amongst like the teenage characters, is it's kind of like
Oh,
breaking
is
the
it
third
like,
wall.
what is that Netflix show that's terrible? Where it's like
There's a lot that falls into a large category there, sir.
no, but it deals with like a royal family, but they kind of use a little mix of modern and old language. I forget what it is, but it's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sold for or against Dickinson. I mean, obviously my wife, I'm pretty sure, is a big fan of Emily Dickinson in general. So, but we weren't like super infatuated with the show. Watch some other stuff like on Disney Plus. Just been like a lot of TV watching. Unfortunately, like fell asleep. Watch a show, fall asleep on the couch. Still, powering through Smallville when I can. But I did get sent this Turtle Beach Recon controller. So this thing is actually really interesting. It only works for Xbox and for PC. So if you're watching on stream, I'm going to show it on the screen. So first off, it's as a controller, it's really, in comparison, it's very similar to the Xbox controller. It has back buttons on it that you can remap. So it has 2 back buttons on it, the black that you can remap to it. And it's a wired controller. So it comes with a 10-foot USB to USB-C, or USB-A, I think is what it's called, to USB-C. So it's a 10-foot braided cable. It has to be wired. It doesn't use any battery power at all. So it has the mappable buttons. It has like a thumbstick sensitivity, like high power aiming that you can use on it. I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called. Precision aiming, and then pro aim focus mode. So 1 of 2 mappable buttons, pro aim, tune thumbstick sensitivities for improved long range accuracy. I didn't really notice a significantly large difference with that, but it could just be depending on some of the shooter games that I'm playing. However, the claim to fame that this controller has is it has essentially a headset functionality in the controller, meaning that you can plug any 3.5 millimeter headset into this controller and get a lot of the Turtle Beach features that you have in some of like the Recon 70s. You can turn like supersonic hearing on. You can there's EQ settings you can mess with, and it's all within the controller, which is it's a pro and a con, which is why I think it sucks that it has to be wired. But I wouldn't imagine what the battery life on this thing it would be like as functioning as a controller and as a headset. I did plug some just basic like Android headphones into it, and it sounded good. This is $60. This is out this week, and in terms of like an all-in-one device, like I feel like this is something that could be used for your kid or your teenage kid, or if you travel a lot. Like this is almost ideal for your like Xbox Series S, in my opinion. You throw, because like when I went on vacation, I just threw the S in the backpack. I didn't have to I was thinking about taking the PS5, and I'm like, I would need to have its own carry-on luggage. But so I threw the S in there. I threw this in there. It's wired. You don't have to worry about bringing any batteries. You almost always, nowadays, not as much because of the cell phones are changing, but you probably have some 3.5 millimeter headphones laying around the house that you can just throw in the bag, and it works. You can mute it on the controller. Like there's a bunch of buttons on the controller. You can map the buttons to the back. So I played a bunch of games with it, and as a controller, it's solid. I feel
How's
like
the D-pad? The D-pad doesn't look great in the pictures. How does it feel and work?
It's still, I mean, I don't know if you can. It's still like relatively clicky. Like I don't know if you can hear it on my mic.
I would just be curious, like with a platformer or like a side scroller or a fighting game, that D-pad.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I mean, I'm not sure. It doesn't feel terrible. It doesn't feel spongy. But like for the most part, I've always been able to adjust to a controller pretty easily. The triggers feel good, but I mean, for like $60, I think that this is a very interesting piece of hardware, a very interesting piece of tech. I like I said, for traveling or for your Xbox Series S, like I really like this. Obviously, there must be something. I think that the main reason it's not on not a PS5 controller as well as just DualSense technology. They're not going to let them do that. But I think if you're always worried about kids, like give them a pair of Skull Candy headphones, this controller, and you've got something that's like $70, $80, that's a controller and the headset, and you don't have to worry about it anymore, versus buying a new controller that's like $60, and then buying anywhere from a slightly above average headset is $50 to $60. Go ahead.
So another thing, how does it look in person? Because no offense to Turtle Beach, this is one of the ugliest looking things I've seen, like in terms of like the pictures for it.
I mean, I don't. The buttons,
because tech wise and button wise, it sounds like there's some good technology in it, and I'm guessing the cost cutting measures was just in like the aesthetic field of it. I'm guessing.
Yeah, the best way to describe it is it feels a little more narrow than an Xbox Series controller. I kind of, when I put them on top of each other, it's got these like rubber grips on the side that like I don't really ever care about. I've never been one of these person that puts like controller grips on there.
Using their cooling technology or something.
I didn't notice that either way, if it was or wasn't. But I also don't really usually get sweaty hands when I play. I've never really have. There is a lot. There is a lot going on the top though, because like I said, there's like the supersonic hearing button, there's the mode button, there's the select the version you have, there's the mic mute button, there's a chat up and down switch and a volume up and down switch, along with the Xbox menu buttons and the share button for Xbox, or the capture button or whatever it's called. Those things are all very, very compact.
And I think that's the thing that sticks out the most with the controller is those buttons, and that's why like it isn't the most like eye candy looking setup there, but it's all practical. It seems.
Yeah, the one I'm showing on the screen is white, and it has the classic like Xbox button layout colors to it. There is a black one, like a completely black one with the gray grips. I think that one aesthetically looks better.
Agreed.
But I didn't really get a too much of a chance to mess around with the back map buttons. For some reason I don't know if I just have the dexterity to use those all the time, but I will try that a little bit more and kind of talk about it next week, I guess. But in terms of like how much controllers cost, and if you're in a situation where you can have a wired controller at wherever you play, like this is a very viable option. You can still you don't even have to use it from a headset standpoint, like. Just to get a controller with back button mapping.
For $60 is really
is good, and it works, and it functions really well, and it's light, which is good as well, and it has rumble, and I'm very surprised and very happy with this. I could see myself totally like letting Owen use this with a pair of headsets and just not being super concerned about like what happens or what doesn't happen to him. So. I love the fact that I don't have to think about charging anything, like at all. You just plug the controller and plug the headset in, and you don't have to think about charging. I hate the fact that I've got a wire coming from my console to my controller and from my controller to my ears. Like that bugs me. But overall, like I was very impressed with this controller. So it's a Turtle Beach Recon controller wired. And I'm actually like, now that I'm looking at the box, like it actually says wired on the box. So I'm wondering if like eventually that the Gen 2 is going to be like wireless. But like this, like right below my hand here is like the approved for Xbox like sticker that I was just talking about with the Sony stuff. That I think that they would hopefully put something like that on their hard drive or their hard drive things. But it's very interesting. I'm actually very surprised with the controller, and I like it a lot. So.
That's good.
Didn't want to go too long with that. Sorry. So.
Yeah, no problem. For me, it's been just a couple games. Specifically, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles came out last week. I picked it up on PS4, using a PS5 to play it, but it's nothing that's going to get a performance boost. I was worried about this one just because this is an Ace Attorney game that doesn't include Phoenix Wright and his crew. It takes place in a completely different time period with different characters. It's in a time period where basically like Japan has like opened its borders and is more accepting of like English culture coming into their world. So it's a different perspective than what we're used to, because Ace Attorney kind of takes place in modern-ish time. So I can never pinpoint exactly what time period in the 2000s and 90s that it takes place in. But this has been really good. There are some really nice like animated scenes before every case really gets started that are so good that I would want more of that to be in the game. But it's your typical Ace Attorney experience in terms of crime happens, you investigate, and then you get a really like lengthy trial out of it where you're trying to just catch people making mistakes or lying, and it's just really entertaining. I'm really enjoying. We finished we finished one case, and then we're in our second case in like chapter 3, I believe, in the second case. So far, everything's good. The cases that we've seen have been pretty intriguing and not too easy like previous Ace Attorney games, especially the first Ace Attorney game. We figured out exactly who was the criminal and what happened relatively fast, and this one, there's a lot more that seems to be happening. The only thing that throws me off with the visuals with the game, because I don't want to get into story spoilers with this, because that's the whole point of this game, or these types of games, is the in-court action. The art is kind of 3D, 2D, and sometimes it could just look a little off, a little weird, as opposed to the previous Ace Attorney games that was just mostly 2D art. The 3D animation stuff that they've included in this can sometimes look a little weird. Sometimes it looks really nice, but sometimes when characters are in motion, it can throw you off a little bit, take you out of the moment. But I'm enjoying the hell out of this. Me and Sarah played the Ace Attorney remasters in 2019, and we kind of burned through them way too fast. So for this one, we're trying to take our time and just do like a chapter a day per trial, and if we finish a trial, we don't start the other one until another day, so we can kind of discuss our favorite moments and like actually sit there and like digest what happened in the trial.
Having not played these games, do the trials kind of like seam together, or are each chapter kind of like a standalone chapter?
I mean, you will have returning characters and they will reference previous trials, so there's that aspect of it. But there's no major overarching story, at least not yet, that's present. This is a remaster of Ace Attorney games as well, of the Great Ace Attorney games that were out. So I don't know exactly where the franchise goes, because this is like, I think, 2 games that were remastered in one package. So I don't know exactly how it will play out over time, because it's the first time these games have been translated into English. So this is all relatively like new stuff for me. So enjoying the hell out of that. This is definitely going to be one of those things where it will end up in like my top 5 games of the year, and I'm only in the second trial, just because it's so enjoyable to play that. And me and Sarah kind of treat it like a co-op game, where we're like discussing things, why stuff's happening, and trying to solve the case. Microsoft Flight Simulator came out last week on Xbox. Playing that. I don't really take this Flight Simulator game super serious. I'm like actually the wrong person to be playing Flight Simulator, but I had to check it out because it's a very hardware taxing experience on PC, so I was very curious to see how they were going to handle this on Xbox with a controller, and it turns out really well. This game runs phenomenal on the Series X. It looks great. And
I have it. I downloaded it the other day on the S just to see what it's going to do, because I told Angela, I'm like, hey, we can like fly over the house and stuff.
Yeah, no, and because it's using the, like, I think it's using Bean Maps technology, gives you the option at the beginning, like, hey, do you want us to, like, stream information as you're playing? And it warns about how much data that could end up using. Or if you just want the baseline, here's whatever default maps, or default, like, map data that they have, as opposed to like streaming it and getting.
You can put it like in
detail.
real time. Like if you're flying at like 10:30 at night, like you're flying at 10:30 at night.
Yeah. But you can always change the weather time on the fly. But it tries to stream in some real data while you're playing it. I think after like an hour session, it said I used up like a gig of streaming data. So this game can be a resource hog if you're worried about a data cap. But I immediately was like, all right, I'm going to fly over Disney. And just see exactly where their data lines up. And it looks like the Disney data was probably like 2015, 2016, because I don't think I saw like the Star Wars land there, and I didn't even see construction. So there's some stuff like that you're going to be like, oh, this currently isn't here because the Bean data might be outdated, and the streaming data, just whatever reason, won't pull up the most up-to-date thing. And it's really cool though, because like there is like a Microsoft Simulator store in there, and you can actually download better quality assets that people have put up I'm guessing it's like locked down on PC, but there's some free ones that are available from Microsoft directly, though they do take up a lot of space. Like if you want like I forget exactly how they say it, but there's like better maps for Japan. It's like a 4 gig download, and there's like 2 different US maps that were like 9 gig downloads. So this
the game itself is pretty big too. It was over 100 gigs just in general.
Yeah, it's 100 gigs, and then there's like little stuff that you can download to improve your experience. But controls work really well. I mean, it is Flight Simulator, so like at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna try flying from Chicago to California, and I'm just like, that's a 4-hour flight. There's no way I'm gonna like do this. So I just kind of was just messing around because you can pick certain points of interest or airports to start from, or you could just put your latitude, longitude of specific locations into the search engine, and it'll just drop you right into that area. So I pulled up Google Maps, grabbed different latitude, longitudes, some coordinates, and then just dropped the plane there and just went around. It's a really gorgeous looking game on a Series X, and I was looking at videos for the Series S, and it sounds like they do a really good job there as well. Mm-hmm. There's like just a slight noticeable difference, but really impressed with it. It's one of those things where, because it's 100 gigs, I don't know how long I'm going to let it live on the Xbox, but it's something that like I was intrigued enough to just like, all right, let me just see different parts of the world and see how close I can fly.
I mean, I've heard that like you should definitely do the tutorials.
I skipped on that,
which doesn't surprise me. In terms of being able to fly, fly well, and then I've also, I also feel like this might be something that you could kind of like show off to your friends, or like kind of like, hey, check this out, like oh, you got an Xbox, like you can see. Like my dad would be like super fascinated with this flight simulator game, like in terms of like it's just a different crowd. So it is obviously extensive. It's large. Like in my situation, it would take up over a third of my hard drive space on my Series S, but it could be something really fun to kind of mess around with. Like my plan is to like, I don't know how, maybe I'll video him on my phone, see how fast Owen can crash a plane.
Really fast. It took me a couple minutes to figure out how to take off but I was using like an old plane to do that. But once you get into the swing of things, it's actually really easy to control. And they do have auto assist and pilot to kind of help you if you just want to enjoy a flight. And as someone who enjoys flying,
Curry's saying, can you play on Xbox One? I don't think you can play on Xbox One yet.
I think it's
that they've came out and said that they're working on some type of. I think they're going to use Flight Simulator as something for them to test kind of their cloud technology. But I think they're still trying to work the kinks out of that right now. Yeah.
This is a very demanding game, so I wouldn't be surprised if it just never like actually happens. Still playing Pokemon Unite. I still have not run into any like crazy things where you see like people paying to win and using bullshit to end up winning everything. So I haven't run into that just yet, but I'm still playing casual. I'm not doing any of the ranked play, which I imagine is where you see the people that are willing to pay to win. So still playing that. It's fun. I'm starting to like kind of wind down on it though. I've noticed when it first came out, I was playing it every day. Now I'm just like, I forget it exists, and then I'm like, oh, let me play 1 or 2 matches. And the pick up and play though, luckily, is very easy in terms of how long you have to commit to like one match. And then that's it for playing. Watching, just the Fear Street trilogy. Covered that for the movie podcast, so watched all 3 Fear Street movies in about a week time. Highly recommend those. Those are fantastic movies. It's classic, scary movie stuff. Plays with multiple genres because each movie takes place in a different time period. It's R.L. Stine, but it is a rated R movie. So I didn't know R.L. Stine had some of this in him, which makes me kind of want to look at the Fear Street like books from the 90s that these are based on. But I highly recommend it. It's 3 movies. First one takes place in 1994, second one 1978, and the third one 1666. Really, really fun like set of movies. Probably like my favorite movies I've seen this year that came out.
Cool.
that's it for playing and watching. You're probably going to hear a lot of Ace Attorney updates over the next month or so.
That's fun. Yeah, always playing games with significant others, always fun.
And Curry Master, I did not take the shrink wrap off Judgment. I am sorry.
We'll add the segment. What game did Michael not unwrap today? All right, so questions and comments, just like Curry just sent in on the Twitch chat. You can throw a couple of them in there if you're watching us live, or you can put them in the Facebook group or on Twitter using hashtag AskDigitalDays. Stefan Wren, he posted something earlier today about he has a trophy issue with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where he's 130 hours in and he's got a trophy that's glitched, and he reached out to Ubisoft support, and they said, yeah, just send us your game save files. Well, you can't transfer game save files on PS5 on the USB. So apparently there was a couple comments in there. I didn't get involved in that because I don't know anything about it.
It would be in the cloud though, right? They have their
yeah,
cloud
but I don't think
thing.
you can put it. I don't know. Can you access the cloud not from a console?
Ubisoft could. He should tell them that. Ubisoft can.
But I think I think the next thing is Ubisoft recommended him I think he took video of it on his phone to send to them exactly what was happening. But he's short like a trophy. So he said, so his question is, well, in my current predicament, he was wondering if we ever spent hours on a game before a glitch stopped us from completing it.
Okay. So I have two experiences with something like this. The first one is Infamous 2. I had played the good way, and then I think you had to do good, bad, and neutral. I did the good, I did the neutral, but my bad playthrough glitched, and I'm missing the final trophy. So I actually completed the game 3 times, and the third time, the last trophy that confirms that I played it in the bad or evil way glitched out. So I am forever missing 1 trophy from that, and I do not want to play it a 4th time, even though I would probably enjoy it. I can't play that game a 4th time just to get this 1 trophy. Though it's been several years now, so maybe I would be more willing to play it. But at the time, there was no way I was going to play that game a 4th time, back to back to back to back, just for 1 trophy. And then another...
So the ironic part is in the thread where Stefan posted this. Randy Pinnock says, "I'm still 1 trophy away from the platinum in Infamous. I fell between a wall and the games, and the game." He said he fell between a wall and the game saved, and that was the end of that.
So, and mine is just the game just didn't acknowledge that I did the bad ending, even though I saw the bad ending. It was just no, it didn't happen, which is super frustrating. And then the other time, it's not trophy related, but Homefront Revolution was a game that I had to review, and that game glitched out on me 3 times, about 10 to 15 hours in each time, in different spots, that I just kind of had to give up on trying to finish that game. And I hear they patched it alarmingly after the game released, like a quality of life update. And I've been kind of tempted to mess around with it on PS5 and Series X, but I don't think there was enough at the game at that point to keep me interested, even if it didn't glitch out. So I don't know if it'd be worth it just to finally, after all these years, to see that game through.
For me, I can't. There's nothing that jumps to the top of my head that I was having issues with. I also don't typically chase trophies. It's kind of one of those things where it just for the most part naturally happens until there's 2 or 3 that I have to go get. And those 2 or 3, I've never really had any major problems getting them. But I also would be if you can't get it, I'd be okay. I just kind of would just move on. So there's really nothing that I can, speak on that rings any bells from that. So just kind of just move on. So, yeah. And then the next question, Catharnus. Yeah, there you go. Catharnus on Twitter. In terms of quality, reception, and popularity, what is the better franchise, Resistance or Killzone? Which one would you want to see remastered, if either?
And now I pulled this from the hashtag AskDigitalDays on Twitter. So okay. I'm pretty sure we haven't answered this one, but it was from July 3rd or 4th, and I don't believe we've answered this in the last couple episodes. But if we did, sorry. I don't think we did.
Okay.
Dave, what is your answer now that you got that info?
See, I'm already thinking like studio wise. Like if you can get Insomniac to work on Resistance again, like I'd probably be game for that. I don't. I like Killzone. I enjoyed Killzone Shadowfall's campaign as a shooter. It also felt like it was a very heavy shooter. I have not ever gone back. I think I might have messed with Killzone Mercenaries on Vita, if that's what it was called.
Yeah, Liberation on PSP, Mercenaries on Vita.
And that's the extent of my Killzone background. I believe I've played Resistance 2 and 3, or maybe just 3. I wasn't, when the Resistance franchises and Killzone franchises were out in the early time frame, I wasn't playing a lot of games, and let alone playing a lot of PlayStation games at the time. So I guess just based on the community of people that I follow and pay attention to, I'll go with the majority there, and I would say Resistance.
Yeah, so it's funny, when I look back to Resistance and Killzone, they are kind of opposites of each other. So Killzone 1, bad game. Killzone 2, great game. Killzone 3, bad game. Resistance 1, great game. Resistance 2, kind of bad game. Resistance 3, great game. Like they both kind of like fill that void. And I don't count Shadowfall because I just didn't like Shadowfall at all in terms of like the trilogy, because it was its own separate thing. Resistance 2 wasn't terrible. It just wasn't what you wanted from Resistance 1, and then Resistance 3 had a basically correct course. So in terms of story, that like if we're talking remaster, I would imagine like story is what you remaster. Because each multiplayer experience was too different for those, like the 3 Killzone games from game to game. So I would say Resistance, I would want to see a remaster, and I like better, even though Killzone 2 probably got the most time of any game from me, but that was only because of multiplayer. But if we're talking about remastering like the stories, Resistance hands down, because Killzone just, I feel like, never was able to nail a story.
Neither one of them would sell well. Sorry.
I think Resistance would sell just slightly better than Killzone.
Yeah, I agree, but neither one of them would sell well.
They would be living in the Returnal kind of sale area.
I think it'd do a little better than Returnal, but
I think it would be living in that Returnal to MLB The Show, like 500 to 2 million.
Fine.
I don't see them like hitting the Miles Morales number or an Uncharted number. But I would be way more interested by a Resistance remaster, which I am going to start replaying the Resistance game soon, so I would much rather see that.
Wyatt just actually brought something up. So that reminds me. I played Skies of Arcadia. So he wrote, not a glitch, but in Skies of Arcadia, I saved between 2 boss fights and was too weak for the first one, or too weak after the first one to beat the second one, and I could not go back. The same thing happened to me. I got to the point of no return in that game. And I was just kind of enjoying the story and moving from island to island in this airship and like an air pirate. Like I just love the aesthetic of that game. That's an old game. I think I played it on GameCube, and I just got my ass kicked by the last boss, and I couldn't do anything. Like there was nothing I could.
I think I've been into the same situation with another game, but I can't think of what game it was.
You pass like the air quoted glass door, and it locks behind you and shuts, and you're in the last encounter. Games do a far better job now saying, "Hey, you can't go back."
I think I mainlined like a PS1 or PS2 RPG, and I completely didn't grind, and then got to like a boss area, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. I didn't grind. And
I never beat that game. Like I never beat that game. That was for a while there. I was playing like Skies of Arcadia and Tales of Symphonia on GameCube, like when we lived in West Michigan, and Angela would kind of hang out with me while we were playing Tales of Symphonia. And she would, I don't know, putz on the computer at the time or something, or like she didn't have her like smartphone then. But there was definitely some
with her Razr phone, making new callback songs.
Yeah, playing whatever Snake on the Nokia, But so there was definitely an interesting time there with those, and I enjoyed some of those games for what they were. But those were also easy for me to pick up and play, and I didn't always have to be like laser focused on what was going on, because you could kind of just stop and communicate for a little bit with it being like turn-based games. So but that did remind me of that. So All right, so that's it for the show. That's the week. Like I said, a little bit of lighter news. We're kind of right around the same time frame that we normally would have been, a little less. So I don't really think we have any spotlights right now. It's just summertime, so it's kind of like the dog days of summer. So socials, you can follow us on Twitter at Digital Days Pod. I guess
we're close to 200 followers. So
yeah,
guys, if you could get us over that edge.
I guess maybe let's spotlight Active Quest. A couple friends of the show. They are taking I guess I would call it like maybe a sabbatical from podcasting right now because they're just a little bit too busy with some of the stuff they're doing. Chris Penwell,
3 freelance writers that are like doing a lot of stuff right now.
You've done some stuff with Chris Penwell.
Yeah.
He's been a good friend of the show. They sent out this nice video in a couple Twitter threads, and they mentioned us in some of the threads, which we got some more exposure from that. So thank you. So we'll spotlight them. Go back and listen to a couple of their episodes. Maybe if they see an uptick in activity, maybe they'll be more motivated to get back behind the mics sooner. But at the same time, understand that life happens. Josh, that's his name.
Yeah. He's in the group, yeah. Josh, Joseph, and Chris are the hosts there.
He put something on Twitter the other day that I kind of like gave him like a little bit of my own personal perspective on it, and it sounds like it helped him a lot. So definitely check those guys out. On Twitter, I believe it's at Active Quest.
Yes, Active Quest Show.
Active Quest Show. I apologize. So, and then our Twitter is at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Again, everything is linked in the show notes that you would need to check out to help us. Facebook group, Discord servers, all linked in there. Patreon tiers, $1 tip jar, $3 Discord access, $5 24-hour early access to the numbered show. $7 is the monthly bonus episode. We know it's August, but we'll be recording July's this week. Just my vacation and some other things just kind of got in the way of that.
Dave got sick at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
I got sick at the end of the month, and Dave had a
30 days goes really. 30
Yeah.
days keeps going really fast, so we apologize for that. But at the same time, I've talked to almost all of the Patreon supporters that are in that realm, and I don't really. You guys are awesome and appreciative, and usually very supportive of a couple days late. So we appreciate that. So, other than that, Michael, you got anything else?
No, that's it. I'm just waiting for more games. There's a lot of stuff coming out this month that I'm excited about. So we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again to Josh for last week. If you haven't listened to that, check it out. If that's the first episode you listened to and then you made it to this one, thank you. I hope you kind of stick around. Subscribe if you choose. Follow, leave a review. That's always helpful. Helps the show grow. And with that said, hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.